Hello, welcome to Dungeoneers Pack, a channel bringing you player-focused discussions and character guides for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. My name is Josh, thank you for watching. In this video, I'm going to speculate on a potential new setting coming to 5th edition due to some products having recently been announced and previewed that are associated with D&D but not made by Wizards of the Coast. Before we get started, an easy way to support this channel is to like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that notification bell to know when new videos are up. You can also support us directly at our Patreon by becoming a Dungeoneer. When you become a Dungeoneer, you get access to an exclusive role in a private chat in Discord, access to all the character build scripts, and you will be able to listen to an audio-only version of each week's video before it goes up. You can find a link to the Patreon in the description below. With that said, let's get started. WizKids has announced Magic the Gathering unpainted miniatures for the Deep Cuts line. The Deep Cuts line is WizKids' other unpainted miniature line, just like Nozer's Marvelous Miniatures. While Nozer's is the D&D branded unpainted miniatures line, Deep Cuts is reserved for the non-D&D licensed products, but most commonly used for Pathfinder. The Magic the Gathering minis are in the same miniature scale used for Pathfinder and D&D. Most of the creatures in the MTG Deep Cut set are the guild leaders from Ravnica that could not fit into the D&D Icons of the Realms Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica set. We have Asperia from the Azoria Senate, Borborygmos from the Gruul clans, the Obzedek Ghost Council from the Orzhov Syndicate, Rakdos from the Cult of Rakdos, and Aurelia from the Boros Legion. The only guild having yet to receive a mini for their leader is the Simic Combine. The Izzet League, Golgari Swarm, House Dimir, and Selesnya Enclave all had their leaders represented in the original pre-painted miniature line. There were two big takeaways I noticed from this preview. There were no new miniatures for the Theros setting. It's possible they can be shown off at a later date, or they'll be added in later waves. The other thing is that another Magic the Gathering setting without a 5th edition setting book has figures in this line. The minis belong to the plane of Zendikar. We have figures for Stormforged Mystic, Kor Hookmaster, Coralhelm Commander, Halimar Wavewatch, Goblin Guide, Goblin Bushwhacker, Joraga Warcaller, Joraga's Tree Speaker, Vampire Lacerator, and Vampire Hexmage. I'm speculating based on these minis alone that we may be seeing a Zendikar setting book joining the 5th edition setting lineup in the near future. Minis alone may not be enough proof for a new setting book, but it surprises me that Wizards would even have WizKids make miniatures for Zendikar when there isn't even a need or demand for them. I know another Magic the Gathering setting may upset some, as I know many have their hearts set on 5th edition books for Darksun, Spelljammer, or Planescape, but it doesn't mean those aren't coming. We know Darksun will eventually hit 5th edition as soon as Wizards can figure out Psionics. Spelljammer and Planescape may be being held back because there isn't a supplement in 5th edition that expands on the planes just yet. For those unfamiliar with the Magic the Gathering setting, let me answer, what is Zendikar? Zendikar was Wizards' attempt to make an adventure world setting for Magic the Gathering. It was inspired by D&D and movies like Indiana Jones. The people on the plane are set out to explore dungeons and search for treasures and relics from the past. On top of all of this, they are in a constant struggle with the land they traverse. One of the biggest aspects of Zendikar is the Roil. The Roil is the name for frequent periods of natural volatile activity which changes the landscape of the plane dramatically. For an example, a mountain will erupt from the earth where once stood a valley. The natural disasters constantly change the planet, which makes it hard for the people to conquer it. The setting also had an eldritch horror element in the form of the Eldrazi. They were elder godlike beings that visit planes to feast on their mana. Due to some story events in the card game, they have been dealt with. For more in-depth information on Zendikar, I have provided links to videos from other YouTubers in the description below. If Zendikar is the next setting book, what could this add to 5th edition? Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica expanded the Renown system with the guilds, and Mythic Odysseys of Theros expanded the Piety system with the gods. Since Zendikar is about dungeon exploration, treasure hunting, and surviving the ever-changing environment, this could lead to expanded rules on exploration, more tools for dungeon generation, and environmental challenge tools. Another thing a Zendikar setting book would add is 2 new playable races. They would be vampires and Kor. It would seem a bit odd to introduce playable vampires in a non-horror setting book, but they play a significant role in the setting as they make up one of the 6 major races. Zendikar vampires are different from the standard vampire. Their origins are tied to the Eldrazi. Some of the original beings of Zendikar had become corrupted by the Eldrazi in the setting's past. This corruption caused a change so drastic that they became a new species. In other settings, this is not the case because the being has been turned undead via vampirism. It is possible that whenever they do introduce vampires, that they do so using supernatural gifts so that it plays well with other settings. The other race would be the Kor. They are a nomadic race skilled with using hooks and ropes to traverse the untamed lands. They kinda look similar to changelings from Eberron, but they don't share any of the shape-shifting abilities. Instead, they have a long history of being able to shape stone to forge weapons. This ability to shape stone can be seen throughout the landscape, as the core planeswalker Nahiri is responsible for the large stone hedrons that litter the plane. Other races that would be featured and most likely be reprinted if there was a Zendikar book will be goblins, tritons, and minotaurs. Goblins and tritons are two of the other prominent races featured in the setting. Minotaurs on the other hand play a smaller role on Zendikar, but they have been featured on various cards for the plane. There are a couple of things that put holes into my Zendikar setting book speculation. The first is that the setting doesn't add anything different that can't be found in any of the current settings. While the untamed world hidden with secrets is one of the major themes of the setting, we can play with that theme in various locations of Forgotten Realms or Eberron. Another thing that is one of the biggest elements for Zendikar that surprised Magic the Gathering players has been removed from the setting. Zendikar was used to lock away the elder godlike beings the Eldrazi. Their release and corruption over the plane would have made the setting more unique and interesting to play in, but the Eldrazi were eventually defeated and their presence has been removed from the setting. If this setting were to be released as a 5th edition book, it would coincide with the new Magic the Gathering expansion set on the plane being released at the end of September. The new storyline is expected to show how the plane is adapting with the removal of the Eldrazi, bringing it back to its adventure world roots. This would make it very apparent of being a huge marketing push that wouldn't allow the book to stand on its own. The other thing that pokes a hole in my speculation is that currently we are not seeing any subclasses out for testing that hints at the setting. Each Magic the Gathering setting book has introduced 2 new subclasses. Currently, the Undead Patron Warlock and College of Spirits Bard are the 2 subclasses out for testing, but they have no connection to Zendikar. Instead, those subclasses seem to be geared towards horror settings like Barovia or Magic the Gathering's Innistrad plane. If Zendikar were to be a setting book, we should be seeing subclasses to test by now or relatively soon. If this is the case, the Zendikar book would be released around June or July of 2021. With that said, I want to hear from you. What setting do you want in 5th edition next? If you want to see more content like this, let me know down in the comments section. You can also catch me at the Dungeoneers Pack Discord. A link to the Discord can be found in the description below. Alright, I'm out of here. Have a good one.